She was left alone at her friend's wedding, until a single millionaire said, "Act like you're with me." Claire stood frozen as Jason's mother approached, that familiar condescending smile already forming. "Claire, dear, all alone again. Such a shame. Jason and Madison look so happy together, don't they?" The words cut deeper than any knife. Around her, wedding guests whispered, stealing glances at the pathetic ex-fiancé who'd shown up alone while her replacement sparkled on Jason's arm. Claire's hands trembled around her champagne glass. She needed to leave. Now. But as she turned toward the exit, a warm hand touched her elbow. "There you are, sweetheart. Sorry I'm late. The jet just landed." The deep voice belonged to a stranger, but his grey eyes held hers with surprising tenderness. Evan Mercer, she recognized him from Forbes, stepped beside her, his presence commanding immediate attention. "You forgot about me, didn't you?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, before leaning down to kiss her cheek, as if they'd done this 1,000 times. Jason's mother's mouth fell open. The whispers stopped, and Claire, for the first time in 6 months, felt like she could breathe. How did the woman everyone pitied become the one everyone envied in a single moment? Before we dive into this incredible story, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for more stories about unexpected love and sweet revenge. 6 months earlier, Claire Bennett had thought she had her entire life figured out. 5 years with Jason Hale, a beautiful 2-carat engagement ring, and plans for a spring wedding at his family's estate. She was deep in wedding planning, choosing between shades of ivory for the invitations when her world imploded. She'd left work early that day, a migraine forcing her home from Hale Industries, where she worked as operations director. The same company she'd helped save from bankruptcy 3 years earlier when Jason's father had given her a chance despite her young age. She'd restructured their entire supply chain, negotiated with unions to prevent strikes, and increased efficiency by 40%. Jason always joked that his father loved her more than him. The joke stopped being funny when she walked into their apartment to find Jason in their bed with Madison Torres, a lifestyle influencer with 2 million followers, and her cousin Rachel's best friend from college. "Claire!" Jason had scrambled for sheets while Madison had the audacity to look bored. "This isn't... You're supposed to be at work." "I live here," Claire had said, her voice surprisingly steady despite her world crashing down. "Though apparently that's negotiable. Baby, let me explain..." "Explain what? How you accidentally ended up naked with Madison? How gravity just pulled your clothes off?" Madison had actually laughed. "Oh, honey, this has been going on for months. You really didn't know." Months. While Claire had been tasting wedding cakes and arguing with florists about centerpieces, Jason had been sleeping with Madison. "Get out," Claire had said quietly. "Claire, be reasonable," Jason started. "Get out!" The neighbors probably heard that one. Good. Let them know that perfect Jason Hale was actually a cheating bastard. But the story Jason spun was different. Within days, everyone in their social circle heard that they'd grown apart, that Claire was too focused on work, that she couldn't give him what he needed. The subtext was clear. Boring Claire couldn't keep her man satisfied, so he'd upgraded to someone more exciting. The ring went back. The apartment in Jason's name was vacated within a week. The job at Hale Industries became untenable when Jason's father, while sympathetic, made it clear that family came first. "You're brilliant, Claire," Mr. Hale had said. "Any company would be lucky to have you. I'll write you a glowing recommendation." Translation: "You can't stay here now that you're not going to be family." Claire moved into a studio apartment, updated her resume, and tried to pretend her 5-year plan hadn't just gone up in flames. She threw herself into job hunting, into yoga, into anything that didn't involve thinking about Jason and Madison's Instagram posts from Paris, Cabo, the Maldives, all the trips Jason had said they couldn't afford when they were together. Then came Sarah's wedding invitation. Sarah Chen had been Claire's roommate in college, her maid of honor-to-be, her 3 a.m. phone call friend. Of course, Claire would be at her wedding. She was the maid of honor, after all. "I can uninvite them," Sarah had offered when she called about the guest list. Jason's only invited because his dad and Robert's dad are business partners. Don't you dare, Claire had said. Your wedding isn't about my drama. But Claire, I'm a grown woman. I can handle seeing my ex at a wedding. She couldn't handle it, but she'd pretend she could. The navy dress she'd bought was elegant but understated. She didn't want to look like she was trying too hard. Her hair was professionally styled, not because she cared what Jason thought, but because the photos would last forever. Her makeup was waterproof, a practical choice that had nothing to do with potential tears. "You look beautiful," Sarah had said before the ceremony. "Are you sure you're okay?" "I'm perfect," Claire had lied. The ceremony was beautiful. Claire stood at the altar holding Sarah's bouquet, smiling genuinely because her best friend was marrying the love of her life. She didn't look at the congregation, didn't scan for Jason, didn't care that he was there with Madison. Except she did. She cared so much it physically hurt. The reception was where things went downhill. The wedding party table was near the front, which meant Claire had a perfect view of Jason and Madison at table 7. Madison's dress was inappropriate for a wedding, white lace that photographed better than it looked in person. Jason kept touching her, kissing her, performing happiness like it was an Olympic sport. "Pathetic," bridesmaid Amy whispered. "He's trying so hard to prove he's happy." But to everyone else, it looked like true love. And Claire looked like what she was, alone. During cocktail hour, she'd hidden by the champagne table, downing glasses faster than recommended when the vultures circled. "Claire, how are you, dear?" Mrs. Blackwood, Jason's mother's best friend. "All alone? Such a shame. Though I suppose it's better than settling for the wrong person. Claire, you look healthy." That was Madison's friend Brittany, which was code for, "You've gained weight." "Have you tried those dating apps? I hear they're great for women your age." Mrs. Hale's sister, implying 29, was practically geriatric. But the worst was when Mrs. Hale herself approached. Patricia Hale had never liked Claire. Too middle class, too ambitious, too independent. She'd wanted Jason to marry someone like Madison, connected, decorative, controllable. "Claire, dear, all alone again, such a shame. Jason and Madison look so happy together, don't they? Some people just fit better, you know. Madison understands Jason's world in a way that, well, not everyone can." The condescension dripped like honey-coated poison. Around them, guests had stopped pretending not to watch. Everyone loved drama at a wedding, as long as it wasn't their own. Claire's champagne glass trembled. She needed to leave. Make an excuse, fake an emergency, anything to escape this suffocating pity. She turned toward the exit, and that's when everything changed. "There you are, sweetheart. Sorry I'm late. The jet just landed." The voice was deep, confident with a hint of amusement. A warm hand touched her elbow, gentle but sure. Claire looked up into grey eyes that belonged to a face she'd seen in Forbes magazine last month. Evan Mercer, 35, self-made millionaire. The man who'd bought 3 failing companies in the last year and turned them all profitable within months. What would you do in Claire's position? Comment below and share your thoughts. "You forgot about me, didn't you?" Evan said, loud enough for everyone to hear before leaning down to kiss her cheek. He smelled like expensive cologne and confidence. "Traffic from the airport was horrible. I should have taken the helicopter." Mrs. Hale's mouth opened and closed like a fish. The surrounding guests had gone silent. You, Claire stammered. I know. You told me not to make a fuss, but I couldn't let you go to Sarah's wedding alone. What kind of boyfriend would I be?" He turned to Mrs. Hale with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You must be Patricia. Claire's told me so much about you." "She has," Mrs. Hale squeaked. "Oh, yes. How you always treated her like she wasn't quite good enough for your son. Fortunately for me, your loss is my gain." The burn was delivered so smoothly, Mrs. Hale didn't even realize she'd been insulted until Evan was already guiding Claire away. "Play along," he whispered in her ear. "You looked like you needed rescuing." "I don't even know you," Claire whispered back. "You do, actually. We've met before. But we'll get to that. Right now, just follow my lead." He guided her through the cocktail hour like they'd been together for years. His hand rested naturally on the small of her back. He got her a fresh drink, water this time, without being asked. He introduced himself to other guests as Claire's boyfriend Evan, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "How long have you been together?" someone asked. 4 months, Evan said smoothly, "though it feels like longer. You know how it is when you meet the right person. Time becomes irrelevant." "How did you meet?" "Through work, actually. Claire's brilliant strategic mind caught my attention first. The rest followed naturally." Claire played along, still stunned but grateful for the rescue. Evan was charming, funny, and surprisingly knowledgeable about her life. He knew she preferred wine to cocktails, that she was allergic to shellfish, that she'd graduated summa cum laude from Northwestern. "How do you know all this?" she whispered during a moment alone. "Later," he promised. "Just trust me for now." When dinner was announced, Evan smoothly managed to get himself seated at the wedding party table. Apparently, he knew Robert's father from business dealings. "You don't mind if I steal a seat, do you?" he'd asked Sarah, who looked between him and Claire with growing delight. "Not at all," Sarah said, her smile suggesting she knew more than she was letting on. From their elevated position at the wedding party table, Claire had a perfect view of Jason's face when Evan pulled out her chair. Jason's jaw had literally dropped. Madison was tugging on his arm, hissing something, but Jason's eyes were fixed on Evan. "That's your ex?" Evan asked quietly, following her gaze. "Unfortunately." "The one who cheated with the Instagram influencer." Claire's head whipped toward him. "How could you possibly know that?" "I told you. We'll talk later. Right now I need you to laugh like I just said something hilarious." "What?" "Trust me." So she laughed, and Evan smiled at her like she was the only person in the room. From the corner of her eye, she saw Madison's face darken. During dinner, Evan was the perfect boyfriend, attentive but not overwhelming. He included her in every conversation, deferred to her expertise when business topics came up, and told stories that painted her as brilliant and accomplished. "Claire's the one who figured out the hail industry supply chain issue," he mentioned casually to Robert's father. "Saved them about $3 million a year, if I remember correctly." "That was you?" Mr. Chen looked impressed. "I thought they hired McKinsey for that." "No," Claire said quietly. "That was me. Brilliant work. We could use someone like you at Chen Corp." Jason appeared at their table during the salad course, Madison trailing behind him like a designer handbag with legs. "Claire," he said stiffly, "I didn't know you were seeing someone." "There's a lot you don't know about Claire," Evan said pleasantly. "That's what happens when you're too busy with other pursuits to notice what's right in front of you." Madison stepped forward, extending her hand with her left hand prominently displayed, a massive diamond that made Claire's old ring look modest. "I'm Madison, Jason's fiancée." "Congratulations," Evan said, not taking her hand. "Quick engagement. What's it been, 4 months since Claire threw him out?" 6 months, Madison corrected, then realized what she'd admitted. "Ah, so you were together while he was still with Claire. How predictable." Jason's face reddened. "Listen, you don't know—" "I know enough," Evan cut him off. "I know Claire restructured your father's entire company. I know she turned down a position in Paris to stay with you. I know she spent 5 years building you up while you were tearing her down. And I know you're going to regret losing her for the rest of your life." He turned to Claire. "Would you like to dance?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. As Evan led her to the dance floor, she heard Madison's shrill voice. "Who the hell does he think he is?" "Someone out of your league," Sarah said sweetly as she passed by. On the dance floor, Evan held Claire like she was precious, not possessively but protectively. "Thank you," she whispered against his shoulder. "Don't thank me yet," he said. "We need to talk. Now. After this song, meet me on the terrace." Do you believe in strategic coincidences? Let me know in the comments. They danced through At Last by Etta James, and Claire let herself pretend, just for a moment, that this was real. That she really did have someone who looked at her the way Evan was looking at her now, like she was worth something. When the song ended, Evan led her to the terrace. The Charleston evening was warm, jasmine scenting the air. Inside, the reception continued, but out here, it was just them. "Okay," Claire said. "Explain. How do you know me? Why are you doing this?" Evan leaned against the railing, considering his words. 15 months ago, Hale Industries was considering layoffs. 150 workers were on the chopping block, Claire remembered. It had been brutal. "You stood up in that boardroom," Evan continued, "and told Jason's father that firing those workers would be, and I quote, morally bankrupt and financially stupid. You presented a restructuring plan that saved every job and increased profits. How do you know this?" "Because I was there, in the back. I was considering buying Hale Industries, but wanted to observe first. And I watched this 28-year-old woman stand up to a room full of men twice her age and win using nothing but logic, passion, and sheer force of will." Claire stared at him. "You were there?" "I was, and I was impressed. I tried to recruit you then, but you were engaged to Jason, committed to the company, so I waited." "Waited for what?" "For you to realize you were worth more than being someone's supporting actress." He turned to face her fully. "Claire, I didn't come here to save you from humiliation. I came here to offer you a job." "What?" "My company, Mercer Enterprises, needs a new VP of operations. Someone who can see the big picture and the small details. Someone who isn't afraid to stand up to me when I'm wrong. Someone brilliant." "And you crashed a wedding to recruit me?" "Sarah invited me." Claire's jaw dropped. "Sarah did what?" "She called me 2 weeks ago. Said her brilliant best friend was finally free from a toxic relationship and might be ready for new opportunities. She mentioned you'd be here, that you might need a reminder of your worth. So this whole boyfriend thing? That was improvised. You looked like you were about to cry, and Patricia Hale was being particularly vicious. I couldn't stand it." "Why?" "Because I've watched you from afar for over a year, Claire. Your work, your integrity, your strength. You deserve so much more than what you've settled for." Claire's mind was spinning. "The job, is that real?" "Very real. Headquarters in New York. 200,000 base plus bonuses. Full relocation package. And you'd be working directly with me." "Why do I feel like there's more to this?" Evan stepped closer. "Because there is. I'm attracted to you, Claire. Have been since I watched you demolish that boardroom of executives. But I'm not Jason. I don't mix business with pleasure unless both parties are interested. The job is yours regardless. No strings." Claire looked at this man, this stranger who knew her worth better than her fiancé of 5 years had. "And if I'm interested? In both? Then we take it slow. The job first. Get you settled in New York. See if this chemistry is real or just wedding adrenaline. No pressure, no expectations. You'd wait?" "Claire, I've waited 15 months just to have this conversation. I'm a patient man when something's worth it." From inside, they heard the DJ announce the bouquet toss. "We should go back," Claire said. "Sarah will kill me if I miss this." "Wait." Evan caught her hand. "Whatever you decide about the job, about us, tonight, let's give them a show. Let's make Jason realize exactly what he lost. That's petty. That's justice. And it'll be fun." Claire looked at their joined hands, then back at the reception where Jason was probably still fuming. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." They walked back in hand, just as Sarah was preparing to throw the bouquet. Claire joined the group of single women, very aware of Madison pushing to the front. Sarah turned, winked at Claire, and launched the bouquet directly at her. Claire caught it easily, and the room erupted in cheers. "Looks like you're next," someone shouted. Evan appeared beside her, plucking a rose from the bouquet and tucking it behind her ear. "I'd marry you tomorrow," he said, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear, "but I know you prefer long engagements. I can wait." The crowd awed. Madison stormed off toward the bathroom. Jason looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. The rest of the reception was a blur of dancing, laughter, and Evan playing the perfect boyfriend. He slow danced with Sarah's grandmother, charmed the bridesmaids, and even had Robert's stuffy father laughing at his stories. But his attention always returned to Claire, a hand on her back, a whispered joke in her ear, a glass of water when he noticed she'd had enough champagne. "You're very good at this," Claire said during a slow song. "At what?" "Pretending to care." Evan pulled back to look at her. "I'm not pretending, Claire. Nothing about tonight is pretend for me." The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. "Evan, I know it's fast. I know you're just out of a relationship. I know this is crazy. But Claire, I've built a career on recognizing potential and seizing opportunities. You're both. I'm an opportunity. You're a miracle. Do you know how rare it is to find someone with your combination of intelligence, integrity, and strength? Add in the fact that you're beautiful, and I can actually talk to you. Miracle. I'm not beautiful. I'm pleasant." "Who told you that, Jason?" At her silence, Evan's jaw tightened. "Claire, you're stunning. Not Instagram stunning, real stunning. The kind that gets better with time, not worse." "You barely know me. I know enough, and I want to know more. But first, I want to get you out of Charleston and into a life that actually deserves you. The job. The job. The apartment with a view of Central Park. The career you should have had if you hadn't been holding yourself back for someone who didn't appreciate it. Jason appreciated. Jason used you. There's a difference." The song ended, and the DJ announced the last dance. "Claire," Sarah appeared, grabbing her hands. "I need you for tradition. All the married couples on the floor." "But I'm not." "Tonight you are," Sarah whispered. "Trust me." So Claire and Evan joined the married couples on the floor. The DJ began the anniversary dance, asking couples to leave based on how long they'd been married. "If you've been married less than a year, please leave the floor." Several couples left. Less than 5 years. More departed. Less than 10. Soon it was just Claire and Evan and 2 older couples. "This is ridiculous," Claire whispered. "We should go." "Not yet," Evan said, spinning her. "Let's see how long we can last." Less than 20 years. 1 couple left. Less than 30. Now it was just them and Sarah's grandparents. Less than 40. Sarah's grandparents laughed and stayed. "We have to go," Claire said. "Why? We're just dancing. Everyone's watching." "Let them." The DJ, confused but amused, said, "Looks like we have a tie. How long have our 2 remaining couples been together?" Sarah's grandfather grabbed the mic. 43 years. Everyone looked at Claire and Evan. Evan took the mic with complete confidence. 4 months, he said, "but when you know, you know." The room exploded in applause. Sarah's grandmother hugged them both. And Jason, Claire noticed with satisfaction, had already left. Later, as the reception wound down, Claire and Evan escaped to the terrace again. "This has been the strangest night of my life," Claire said. "Good strange or bad strange?" "Good, definitely good." "So you'll consider it? The job?" "Yes." "And the rest?" Claire looked at this man who'd appeared out of nowhere and changed everything in a single evening. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "If Sarah hadn't invited you, would you have found another way?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because, Claire, I've spent my entire career finding undervalued assets and helping them reach their potential. You're not an asset, you're a person, but you're so undervalued it actually makes me angry. Jason, his family, that entire toxic circle, they had gold and treated it like copper. And you see gold? I see diamond. Pressure-formed, multifaceted, unbreakable diamond. That's a pretty line. That's the truth. Come to New York, Claire. Take the job. Let me show you what it's like to be valued properly. And if it doesn't work out, the personal part, then you still have an amazing job and a fresh start in a city where no one knows Jason Bloody Hale." Claire laughed. "You really hate him." "I hate waste. And wasting you was criminal." Sarah appeared in the doorway. "Claire, we're doing the send-off." As they lined up with sparklers to send the newlyweds off, Sarah hugged Claire tight. "You knew," Claire accused. "I knew you needed reminding of your worth. Evan was already interested. I just facilitated. You're a meddler." "I'm a best friend. There's a difference." Sarah pulled back. "Take the job, Claire. Take the chance. Take the life you deserve." "It's crazy." "The best things always are. As Sarah and Robert ran through the sparkler tunnel to their waiting car, Evan stood beside Claire, their sparklers creating patterns in the darkness. "So?" he asked softly. "What's it going to be?" Claire watched her best friend drive off toward her honeymoon, toward her new life, toward happiness she'd chosen for herself. "When do I start?" Claire asked. Evan's smile could have powered the entire city. "How about 2 weeks? Give you time to pack, say goodbyes, burn anything that reminds you of Jason. I don't have much that reminds me of him." "Good. Travel light. Your new life is going to be full enough without baggage." As the crowd dispersed, Evan walked Claire to her car. "This is goodbye for now," he said. "I fly back to New York tomorrow, but Claire..." "Yeah? Tonight wasn't pretend for me. The job is separate. But I meant every word about wanting to know you better. Even the marriage thing. Especially that. Though I promised to wait at least a year before proposing. Maybe 6 months if you're impatient." Claire laughed. "You're insane. I'm certain there's a difference." He kissed her cheek, soft and lingering. 2 weeks. My assistant will send you everything. Contracts, apartment listings, moving company information." "Evan?" "Yes?" "Thank you. For tonight. For seeing me. For the opportunity. Thank you for being worth seeing. Subscribe if you believe the right person sees your true value." 2 weeks later, Claire stood in her new Manhattan apartment, boxes scattered around her, Central Park, visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. Her phone buzzed with a text from Evan. "Dinner tomorrow, your choice, anywhere but Jason's father's restaurants." She laughed, typing back, "I know a great place, small, quiet. No chance of running into Charleston society." "Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. Another text, this one from Sarah. "Saw the photos from the wedding online. You and Evan are trending on the society blogs. Mystery millionaire sweeps jilted ex off her feet. Jason's mother is apparently livid." Claire smiled, but she didn't care about Patricia Hale's feelings or Jason's regret. That was the past. Her laptop chimed with an email from Evan's assistant. Subject, first day schedule. Monday would begin her new role as VP of Operations at Mercer Enterprises. But first, dinner. A real date. No pretending. No audience. Just Claire and the man who'd seen her worth when she'd forgotten it herself. Her phone rang. Evan. "Sorry," he said. "I know we're having dinner tomorrow, but I had to ask. How's the apartment?" "It's perfect. Too perfect. You didn't have to..." "I didn't do anything. The apartment comes with the position. Check your contract. The contract doesn't specify a view of Central Park. Mine does. Consider it a signing bonus." "Evan..." "Claire, can I tell you something?" "Sure. That night at the wedding when I saw you about to break, it took everything I had not to punch Jason in his smug face. Violence isn't the answer. No, but success is, and you're about to be so successful, it's going to eat him alive. That's not why I'm doing this. I know. You're doing it for you. That's what makes it perfect." 3 months into her new job, Claire had restructured 2 failing divisions and increased efficiency by 30%. Evan watched her work with open admiration and growing affection. They'd been taking it slow. Dinners, Broadway shows, long walks through Central Park. He never pushed, never assumed, just consistently showed up. "You're different than I expected," Claire told him over coffee one morning. "How so?" "Millionaire CEOs are supposed to be demanding, impatient, controlling. I can be all those things. Ask my board. But not with me. No, never with you." "Why?" "Because you're not something to be controlled, Claire. You're someone to be cherished. That's a strong word. It's an accurate word." 6 months in, they were officially together. No pretense, no arrangement, just 2 people who'd found each other in the strangest way possible. The Charleston society pages, which Sarah still sent her, were full of speculation. Jason and Madison's engagement had been called off. Apparently, she'd found someone with more followers. Jason's company was struggling without Claire's strategic mind. Patricia Hale had stopped mentioning her son's love life entirely. "Any regrets?" Evan asked one night, looking at the society pages on Claire's tablet. "About Jason? No. About us, moving so fast. We've been together 8 months, that's not exactly fast. I meant what I said at the wedding, about marriage. Claire looked up. Evan, I'm not proposing. Yet. Just letting you know my intentions haven't changed. When you're ready, I'm ready. What if I'm never ready? Then we'll be the most committed non-married couple in Manhattan. A year after the wedding that changed everything, Claire and Evan attended Sarah's anniversary party. Back at the same venue, the Chateau Marigold, with mostly the same guests, including Jason, now alone. He approached them during cocktail hour. Evan tensed, but Claire put a calming hand on his arm. Claire, Jason said, you look well. I am well. I heard about your success in New York. Congratulations. Thank you. He shifted uncomfortably. I owe you an apology for everything. The way it ended. Madison, not seeing your value. You're right. You do owe me an apology, but I don't need it anymore. I was an idiot. Yes. I loved you, I just lost sight of it. Claire looked at this man she'd once planned to marry. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. You loved the idea of me, she said gently. The supporting role I played. But you never loved me, Jason. If you had, you would have seen me. And he does? Jason looked at Evan. Every day, Evan said simply. Jason nodded, defeated, and walked away. That was generous, Evan said. More than he deserved. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I'd rather focus on the future. Our future. Our future. That night during Sarah's anniversary dance, Evan did propose, right there on the same dance floor where they'd pretended to be together a year ago. Claire Bennett, he said, dropping to one knee as the music stopped and everyone turned to watch. 1 year ago you were left alone at this wedding. Tonight I'm asking you to never be alone again. Marry me? Through tears, Claire said yes. The room erupted. Sarah screamed. Robert laughed. And somewhere in the back, Jason quietly left. But Claire didn't notice. She was too busy kissing her fiancé, the man who'd seen her worth when she'd forgotten it, who'd offered her a job and a life and a love that exceeded every dream she'd given up on. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I love you too. Have since that boardroom 15 months ago. That's impossible. That's recognition. Sometimes you just know. Like at Sarah's wedding? Exactly like that. They married the following spring, not at the Hale estate as she'd once planned, but in Central Park, surrounded by real friends and chosen family. Sarah was her maid of honor, wearing the same dress she'd worn as a bridesmaid at Claire's almost wedding to Jason, redeemed now for a better occasion. You orchestrated all of this, Claire accused as Sarah helped her with her veil. I orchestrated nothing. I just put two people in the same room and let chemistry do its thing. You're still a meddler. The best kind. As Claire walked down the aisle toward Evan, she thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago, abandoned, humiliated, alone at her best friend's wedding. That woman had thought her life was over. She'd been wrong. It was just beginning. Evan's eyes were wet as she reached him. You okay? She whispered. Perfect. You? Perfect. And she was. Not because a millionaire had saved her, she'd saved herself by taking the job, moving to New York, choosing growth over comfort. But because she'd learned the truth, the right person doesn't complete you. They see you complete already and love what they see. Jason had seen her as an accessory. Evan saw her as extraordinary. The difference was everything. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the officiant said. You may kiss your bride. Evan cupped her face gently. I've been waiting 2 years for this. Worth the wait? Worth everything. They kissed as their guests cheered, as spring bloomed around them, as their life together officially began. Though really, it had begun that night at the Chateau Marigold, when a stranger had said, "Act like you're with me," and accidentally told the truth, because she was with him, had been from that first moment. The act had just been practice for the real thing. 5 years later, Mercer Enterprises had doubled in size with Claire as chief operating officer. Their daughter Sophie was 2 and had her mother's strategic mind and her father's confidence. Jason's company had gone bankrupt. He'd reached out once asking for a job. Claire had forwarded his resume to HR with a note: "Evaluate fairly." He didn't get the job, not because of their history, but because he wasn't qualified. He'd always been more show than substance. "Any regrets?" Evan asked on their 5th anniversary, recreating their first dance at Sarah's wedding. "Only one." "What?" "That Sarah's wedding wasn't filmed. I'd love to see the look on Patricia Hale's face when you kissed my cheek." Evan laughed. "I have something better." He pulled out his phone, showing her a photo Sarah had sent. The moment Evan had arrived, his arm around Claire, Patricia's mouth open in shock. "You've had this for 5 years? I look at it whenever I need reminding that timing is everything." "What do you mean? If I'd approached you while you were with Jason, you'd have said no. If I'd waited longer, you might have been with someone else. But that night, that moment, you needed reminding of your worth, and I needed to finally take my shot." "Your shot?" "At the only woman who ever made me want to be more than just successful." "What did I make you want to be?" "Worthy. Of you. You were always worthy." "No. But I'm getting there." Claire kissed him, right there in their living room, while Sophie played with blocks and Manhattan glittered outside their windows. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For seeing me when I was invisible." "You were never invisible, Claire. You were just standing in someone's shadow. All I did was step into the light. And bring me with you. Best decision I ever made. Pretending to be my boyfriend. That wasn't pretending. That was prophesying." They swayed together, no music needed, their daughter babbling happily, their life complete in ways Claire never could have imagined that horrible night at Sarah's wedding, when she'd stood alone, abandoned, worthless in everyone's eyes. Now she stood tall, loved, valued, and most importantly, she valued herself. The millionaire hadn't saved her. He'd just held up a mirror until she could see what had always been there. Her worth had never depended on Jason's recognition, and letting go of him had been the first step toward grabbing hold of everything else. "Mama! Daddy! Dance!" Sophie demanded, toddling over. Evan scooped her up, and they danced as a family, swaying and laughing and whole. Outside, New York sparkled with possibility. Inside, Claire had everything she'd never known to want. All because a stranger at a wedding had said 6 words: "Act like you're with me." The best act of her life. The one that became real. 10 years after that fateful wedding, Claire stood in the boardroom of Mercer Enterprises, presenting to international investors. She'd become one of the most respected COOs in the industry, featured on magazine covers not as Evan Mercer's wife, but as Claire Mercer, the strategic mind behind the empire. "Mrs. Mercer," one investor asked, "your trajectory has been remarkable. What would you attribute your success to?" Claire smiled. "Learning the difference between being needed and being valued. Once you understand your worth, you stop accepting less than you deserve." After the meeting, her assistant knocked. "Mrs. Mercer, there's someone here to see you. Says it's personal." Madison Torres walked in, looking older, tired beneath the designer makeup. "Claire, thank you for seeing me." "Madison, this is unexpected. I need a job." Claire kept her expression neutral. "I see. I know what you're thinking. After everything I did. What exactly did you do, Madison?" Madison fidgeted with her empty ring finger. "I took Jason because I could. Because it made me feel powerful to take someone's man. Because you had everything I wanted. Stability, real love, someone who actually saw you. Jason didn't see me." "No, but you thought he did. That was more than I had." Madison's voice cracked. "I've been married 3 times now. Each one richer than the last. Each one caring less than the one before. I'm 36 and completely alone. I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you?" Claire considered. "Actually, yes, I am. No one deserves to feel worthless. Even someone who made you feel that way?" Especially then, because you were clearly projecting your own insecurities. Madison started crying. I destroyed your life. No, Claire said firmly. You redirected it. If you hadn't taken Jason, I'd be married to him right now. Living in Charleston, making myself smaller every day, never knowing what real love looked like. With Evan. With myself first, then Evan. Could you ever forgive me? Claire pulled out a business card. This is our HR department. Submit your resume. If you're qualified, you'll get an interview. Just like that. Madison, holding on to anger at you would be like carrying poison. I put that down years ago. Jason never forgave me. Jason never forgave himself. There's a difference. As Madison left, Evan appeared in the doorway. Heard you had a visitor. Madison came asking for a job. And? I gave her HR's number. That's generous. That's practical. If she's qualified, she's qualified. Personal history doesn't change that. This is why I love you, Evan said, pulling her close. You're endlessly pragmatic and surprisingly kind. Speaking of surprises, Claire said, Sarah called. She's pregnant again. That's wonderful. Number 4. 5. Twins. Good Lord. She wants us to be godparents. To the twins? To all 5, Evan laughed. She really is determined to keep us in her life forever. Well, she did introduce us. Best wedding crash ever. That evening at their brownstone, Claire helped Sophie, now 7, with homework, while their son James, 5, built elaborate Lego structures with Evan. Mom, Sophie asked, why do you have 2 wedding dresses in the closet? Claire paused. They'd never told the children about Jason. What were you doing in my closet? Looking for dress-up clothes. But why 2? Evan and Claire exchanged glances. Well, Claire said carefully, sometimes people make mistakes. Buy the wrong dress, choose the wrong person. But if we're lucky, we get a second chance to get it right. Did you choose wrong? I chose what I thought was right at the time, but I learned better. How? Your dad showed me better. By marrying you? By seeing me first. Marriage came later. Sophie considered this with 7-year-old seriousness. I want someone to see me. You will, baby. Just make sure you see yourself first. Later, after the kids were asleep, Claire and Evan sat on their terrace, Manhattan glowing below. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Sarah hadn't invited me? Evan asked. You said you would have found another way. I would have, but it might have taken longer. Or maybe I needed that specific moment, that specific humiliation, to be ready for something new. You think the universe planned it? I think Sarah planned it. The universe just agreed. They laughed, comfortable in their decade of love. Claire's phone buzzed, an email from Jason. After all these years, Evan said, reading over her shoulder. The email was long, rambling, apologetic. Jason had been in therapy. He understood now what he'd lost. He wanted to apologize properly. Could they meet? What do you want to do? Evan asked. Delete it. You sure? Might be closure. I had closure the day you proposed. Everything else is just noise. She deleted the email, then turned off her phone. Dance with me, she said suddenly. Out here? Right here. Evan pulled her close, and they swayed to the city's music. Sirens, traffic, life happening all around them. Remember our first dance? He asked. At Sarah's wedding, you were so confident. I was terrified. Of what? That you'd see through me, realize I was just a guy with money trying to impress a girl way out of his league. Out of your league? I was the rejected ex-fiancé hiding by the champagne. You were the brilliant woman who saved a company that didn't deserve you, who stood alone rather than accept less than you deserved, who caught my attention in a boardroom and never let it go. Smooth talker. Truth teller. Same thing when you do it. They danced until it got cold, then went inside to find Sophie standing in the hallway. Couldn't sleep? Claire asked. I had a question. What's that, sweetheart? The other dress. Can I see it? Claire hesitated, then led Sophie to the closet. The dress she'd bought for her wedding to Jason hung in the back, still in its bag. "It's pretty," Sophie said, "but your real dress is prettier." "How do you know?" "Because you smile in those pictures. You don't smile in this dress, out of the mouths of babes." "You're right," Claire said, zipping the bag. "Want to know a secret?" "Yes." "Tomorrow, we're going to donate this dress to someone who needs it, someone starting over." "Like you did?" "Exactly like I did." The next day, they drove to the charity shop that supported women leaving difficult relationships. Claire handed over the dress to the volunteer. "It's beautiful," the woman said. "Never worn?" "Never worn for its original purpose," Claire said, "but it served its purpose anyway." Which was teaching me what I didn't want so I could recognize what I did. As they left, Sophie asked, "Are you sad about the dress?" "No, baby. I'm grateful. For a dress you never wore. For the life I didn't live, because it led to the life I have." That afternoon, Claire got a call from Sarah. "You'll never guess who I ran into," Sarah said. "Who?" "Patricia Hale, at the grocery store." "How is she?" "Miserable. Jason's still single, still struggling. She actually had the nerve to say you got lucky with Evan." "What did you say?" "I said luck had nothing to do with it, that you got exactly what you deserved, someone who saw your value, and Jason got what he deserved too, nothing." "Sarah, what?" "It's true. She also said Madison was her biggest regret." "Madison or losing me?" "Honestly, I think she meant both." That evening, Claire told Evan about the conversation. "Patricia Hale has regrets," he said. "Shocking. Everyone has regrets." "Do you?" "Not anymore. None. Well, maybe one." "What?" "I regret not trusting my instincts sooner. There were signs with Jason, red flags I ignored." "Like what?" "He never celebrated my wins, always made them about him. When I got promoted, he worried I'd make more than him. When I had ideas, he'd present them as his own." "And you stayed." "I thought that was love, sacrifice, compromise." "What do you think love is now?" Claire looked at him. This man who'd celebrated every promotion, supported every dream, amplified every success. "Love is expansion, not reduction. It makes you more yourself, not less." Philosophy from the COO. Reality from a woman who learned the hard way. The next week at Sophie's school concert, Claire spotted a familiar face in the crowd, Jason's sister, Jennifer. "Claire?" Jennifer approached tentatively. "I thought that was you." "Jennifer, how are you?" "Good. My daughter goes here too, first grade. Sophie's in second." They stood awkwardly until Jennifer said, "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For taking Jason's side, for not speaking up when my mother was cruel, for letting you be erased from our family like you never mattered. You were protecting your family. I was being a coward. You deserved better. I got better." Jennifer looked across the auditorium where Evan was setting up his phone to record. "He seems wonderful." "He is. Jason's miserable, you know." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. He earned it. He had gold and traded it for glitter. We all make choices. His was spectacularly stupid." Sophie ran over. "Mommy, we're starting." "This is my daughter, Sophie," Claire said. Jennifer's eyes softened. "She looks just like you. She has her father's confidence, though. Lucky girl." As they took their seats, Evan whispered, "Who was that?" "Jason's sister." "Ah, awkward?" "Honest." "Good honest or bad honest?" "Closure honest." The concert began, and Claire watched her daughter sing with complete confidence. No fear of judgment, no shrinking to fit others' expectations. That's what real love looked like, raising a child who knew her worth from the start. After the concert, the families mingled. Jennifer approached again, this time with her daughter. "This is Emma," she said. Emma and Sophie immediately started chatting about their favorite songs. "Maybe we could have a play date sometime," Jennifer suggested carefully. Claire looked at Evan, who shrugged. "Your call." "That would be nice," Claire said. "Sophie loves making new friends." It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was forward movement. That night, Sophie asked, "Was that lady related to the wrong dress person?" Claire laughed at the description. "Yes. Is that okay? Being friends with her? What do you think?" "I think people aren't their families. Emma's nice even if her uncle wasn't." "That's very wise. I get it from you. The wisdom? The niceness even when people weren't nice to you." Kids saw everything. A month later, Madison was hired in the marketing department, not because of her past with Claire, but because she'd actually built an impressive portfolio. "How's she doing?" Evan asked. "According to her manager, she's brilliant at influencer partnerships. Imagine that. No special treatment? None needed. She's actually good at her job when she's not focused on stealing someone's man, character growth, or desperation. Either way, she's performing." Madison found Claire in the cafeteria one day. "Thank you," she said simply. For showing me that success doesn't require stepping on others. I didn't show you that. You learned it yourself. After watching you, you could have destroyed me when I applied. Instead, you let my work speak for itself. That's just good business." "That's grace." Madison walked away before Claire could respond. "Making friends with all your former enemies?" Evan asked, joining her for lunch. "Converting adversaries into assets. Very strategic. I learned from the best." "Jason?" Claire threw a grape at him. "You, obviously. I've never converted an enemy. You converted me. You were never my enemy. I was closed off, suspicious, convinced all rich men were like Jason. And now? Now I know rich men are just men, some terrible, some wonderful. Wealth is just an amplifier. What does it amplify? What's already there? Jason's selfishness, your generosity. You think I'm generous? You gave me a job when I was broken, a chance when I was hopeless, love when I thought I was unlovable. That wasn't generosity, that was investment. In what? My future happiness." They were interrupted by Claire's assistant. "Mrs. Mercer, the Times wants to interview you about women in leadership. Schedule it." After the assistant left, Evan said, "Remember when you wouldn't even speak up in meetings? That wasn't me. That was Jason's version of me. And now? Now I'm Claire's version of me. My favorite version." The Times interview went viral. Claire spoke about imposter syndrome, about being diminished by partners, about finding your voice after being silenced. The quote that got shared most: "I spent 5 years making myself smaller to make someone else feel bigger. Now I expand to fill my full space, and anyone intimidated by that isn't meant to be in my orbit." Jason definitely read it. He sent another email, this one to Evan. "Take care of her," it said. "She deserves everything I couldn't give." Evan showed it to Claire. "Are you going to respond?" she asked. "Already did." "What did you say?" "I know. That's it. What else is there? He had his chance. He blew it. End of story. Beginning of ours, though." "Best beginning," Sarah called that evening, laughing. "Patricia Hale is telling everyone you stole Evan from some imaginary girlfriend to get back at Jason. That's creative. That's desperate. She can't accept that you just moved on and up. Let her tell whatever story helps her sleep. You're not angry. Sarah, I have 2 beautiful children, a career I love, a husband who worships me, and friends who orchestrate perfect wedding interventions. What could I possibly be angry about? The past? The past gave me the present. I'm grateful for all of it. Even Jason. Especially Jason. He taught me what I didn't want so I could recognize what I did. St. Clair. Strategic Claire. Anger takes energy. I prefer to invest mine in growth." That night, as they got ready for bed, Evan said, "I have a confession. After 10 years, I knew Jason would be at Sarah's wedding." Claire turned from the mirror. "What?" "Sarah told me. Warned me, actually. Said seeing him might upset you." "But you came anyway?" "I came specifically. I wanted to see the man who was stupid enough to let you go. And He was exactly what I expected. Mediocre man who needed women to shrink so he could feel tall. I did shrink. No, you compressed. Like carbon becoming diamond. The pressure made you stronger. Poetic. True. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? Claire considered. No, actually it makes it better. You came knowing there'd be drama. I came knowing there'd be you. And if I'd been a mess, crying over Jason? Then I'd have offered you tissues and a job. The order just would have been different. You really had it all planned out. I had hopes. Plans are for businesses. People require flexibility. And now I have everything I hoped for and things I didn't know to hope for. Like Sophie's laugh, like James's determination, like the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching. How do I look at you? Like I'm worthy. You are. I wasn't always, but you made me want to be. They stood there in their bedroom, 10 years and 2 children and a lifetime of love away from that night at the Chateau Marigold. Thank you, Claire said. For what? For crashing Sarah's wedding. Best crash of my life. Mine too. As they turned out the lights, Claire's phone buzzed. Sarah, with a photo from her wedding, the moment Evan had first put his arm around Claire. Look at your face, the text said. You're already falling for him. Claire studied the photo. Sarah was right. Even in that moment of shock and confusion, she was looking at Evan like he was the answer to a prayer she hadn't known she was praying. What? Evan asked, looking at the photo. Sarah says I was already falling for you. Were you? I think I was falling for the possibility of you, the idea that someone could see me as worth saving. You didn't need saving. No, but I needed seeing. And you had the clearest eyes in the room. I still do. What do you see now? Everything I saw then, magnified. Strength turned to power. Potential turned to achievement. Beauty turned to radiance. You need glasses. I have glasses. They're Claire-focused. Everything else is blurry. Claire laughed, curling into him. Remember what you said that night. Act like you're with me. Best line I ever delivered. It wasn't a line. No, it was prophecy. Or wish fulfillment. Either way, it worked. It did. As they drifted off to sleep, Claire thought about the woman she'd been at that wedding. Alone, humiliated, convinced she was worthless. That woman couldn't have imagined this life, this love, this fullness. But Evan had seen it, had seen her potential when she was at her lowest. That's what real love did. It saw you whole when you felt broken, worthy when you felt worthless, magnificent when you felt mundane. Jason had needed her to be less so he could be more. Evan needed her to be everything so they could be infinite together. The difference wasn't just in the men. It was in Claire finally believing she deserved the difference. And that made all the difference in the world. 15 years had passed since that night at Sarah's wedding. Claire stood at the podium of Harvard Business School, delivering the keynote address for their Women in Leadership conference. The title of my talk today, she began, is The Value of Being Undervalued. Strange title, I know. But 15 years ago, I was left standing alone at my best friend's wedding, publicly humiliated by my ex-fiancé's presence with his new fiancée. I was 29, unemployed, and convinced I was worthless. The audience of 500 was silent, captivated. That night, a stranger, now my husband, pretended to be my boyfriend to save me from further humiliation, but what he really did was show me a mirror, not to see what I lacked, but to see what I'd always had but never valued in myself. She clicked to the next slide, a photo from Sarah's wedding the moment Evan had arrived. This moment changed everything, not because a successful man validated me, but because his recognition made me question why I'd needed validation at all. After her speech, a young woman approached. Mrs. Mercer, I'm in a relationship where I feel invisible. How did you find the courage to leave? I didn't leave. He left me for someone else. But the real question is, why did I stay so long? And the answer is, I didn't know my worth. Once you know your worth, staying becomes impossible. But how do you learn your worth? By testing it. Take risks. Speak up. Stand alone if necessary. Worth isn't given, it's claimed. That evening at the hotel, Evan was waiting with champagne. How'd it go? Standing ovation. Of course. You're brilliant. I talked about us, about that night. Our origin story. Our origin story sounds like a rom-com. Better. Rom-coms end at the wedding. We've had 15 years of proof it was real. Their children were teenagers now. Sophie, 17, was applying to colleges. James, 15, was already interning at Mercer Enterprises, though Claire insisted he work in every department, including mailroom. "Mum," Sophie called from the adjoining suite, "can you look at my essay?" Claire read her daughter's college application essay. It was about growing up watching her mother transform from someone who'd been diminished to someone who commanded rooms. "It's beautiful," Claire said, wiping tears. "Too much." "Perfect. But I'm biased." Dad cried too. Dad cries at insurance commercials. Only the ones about protecting families. Evan defended himself. That weekend they attended James's lacrosse game. In the stands, Claire spotted a familiar figure, Jason, there watching his nephew play. He'd aged poorly, hair thinning, posture defeated, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Their eyes met across the field. He started to approach, then stopped when Evan appeared with coffee for Claire. "Is that?" Evan asked, following her gaze. "Yes." "Want to leave?" "No, this is James's game. Jason doesn't get to affect our lives anymore." But at halftime, Jason found them. "Claire, Evan." He looked older up close, lines carved by regret. "Jason, your son's talented." "Thank you. I hear you run half of Mercer Enterprises now." "We run it together," Evan corrected. "Right." Jason shifted uncomfortably. "I wanted to say I know it's 15 years too late, but I'm sorry. For everything. For not seeing you. For Madison. For being the kind of man who needed others to be less so I could feel like more." Claire studied him, this broken version of the man who'd broken her. "I forgive you," she said simply. "Just like that?" "Jason, I forgave you years ago. Not for you, but for me. Carrying anger at you would be like drinking poison hoping you'd die." "I did die," he said quietly. "The life I could have had with you died when I chose image over substance. You chose what mattered to you at the time. I chose wrong." "Yes, you did. But that choice led me to choose right." Jason looked at Evan. "Take care of her. She takes care of herself. I just get to witness it." Jason walked away, smaller with each step. "You okay?" Evan asked. "I'm perfect. Sad for him, but perfect for us." James's team won. He scored the winning goal. As they celebrated, he introduced his parents to his girlfriend, Lily. "This is my mom, who runs basically everything, and my dad, who supports her while also running everything else." Lily laughed. "So you come from a power couple?" "I come from a couple who knows their power," James corrected, wise beyond his 15 years. That night, sorting through old boxes in their attic, Claire found the journal she'd kept during the Jason years. "Listen to this," she told Evan. "Jason says I should speak less in social situations. My opinions make his friends uncomfortable." I wrote that like it was reasonable advice. "You were in love." "I was in fog. Love clarifies, it doesn't obscure." "When did you know that I was different?" "Honestly, that first moment. When you said, 'Act like you're with me.' Jason would have said, 'Act like you belong here.' The difference mattered. I just wanted you to feel safe. You wanted me to feel powerful. There's a difference." Sophie appeared in the doorway. "What are you guys doing?" "Going through old things." "Is that from when you were with the wrong person?" Claire loved how her children referred to Jason, never by name, just the wrong person. "Yes." "Why keep it?" "To remember. Growth requires remembering where you started." Sophie picked up a photo, Claire and Jason at some charity event, her smile forced, his hand possessive on her waist. "You look different here." "How so?" "Smaller. Like you're trying to take up less space." "I was." "Why?" "Because I thought that's what love looked like. Making yourself less so someone else could be more." "That's sad." That's education. Now I know better, so I do better. Like with Dad. Your dad never asked me to be less. He asked me to be more. More visible, more vocal, more myself. That's real love. That's real love. Sophie hugged them both. I want that someday. You'll have it, Evan said, because you've seen it. You know what it looks like. And what to avoid, Claire added. The next week brought unexpected news. Patricia Hale had died. Stroke, the obituary said. Jason was listed as her only survivor. Are you going to the funeral? Evan asked. No, that chapter is closed. But she sent flowers. The card read, With sympathy for your loss, Claire and Evan Mercer. Jason called that evening. Thank you for the flowers. You're welcome. She never forgave herself, you know, for pushing me toward Madison, for treating you poorly. I hope she found peace. She didn't. She died bitter and alone. I'm sorry. Why? She was cruel to you. Because dying bitter and alone is a tragedy, regardless of who it happens to. You're kinder than she deserved. Kindness isn't about what people deserve. It's about who we choose to be. After hanging up, Claire found Evan in his study. You're a better person than me, he said. I wouldn't have sent flowers. You would have. You pretended to be my boyfriend when you didn't have to. That was self-serving. I wanted you. You wanted me to see my worth. That's service, not self-service. Semantics. Love. 20 years after Sarah's wedding, they renewed their vows. Sarah officiated, having gotten ordained online specifically for the occasion. 20 years ago, Sarah began, I orchestrated the greatest setup in wedding history. I invited Evan to my wedding knowing Claire needed saving. I didn't need saving, Claire interrupted. I needed seeing. Fine, knowing Claire needed seeing, and Evan, bless him, saw everything immediately. The gathering was intimate, just family and closest friends. Sophie brought her fiancé, a kind engineer named David, who looked at her the way Evan looked at Claire. James brought his boyfriend, Marcus, a pediatric surgeon who made their son laugh constantly. Do you, Claire, take Evan again to be your husband, your partner, your equal in all things? I do. Again. Always. Do you, Evan, take Claire again to be your wife, your partner, your better half in all things? Better half is underselling it, but yes, I do, forever. They kissed as their children cheered, as Sarah cried, as 20 years of built love crystallized into a perfect moment. At the reception, held at the same Chateau Marigold where it all began, Sophie gave a toast. My parents' love story started with a lie, Dad pretending to be Mom's boyfriend. But that lie revealed a truth. They were meant to be together. Mom says Dad saw her when she was invisible. But I think Mom saw Dad too, saw past the money and success to the man who'd kneel in public to save a stranger's dignity. They saw each other, and 20 years later, they still do. James followed. Growing up with parents who genuinely like each other is apparently rare. My friends' parents tolerate each other. Mine choose each other daily. Dad still brings Mom coffee exactly how she likes it. Mom still laughs at Dad's terrible jokes. They show us that love isn't a feeling, it's a practice. Claire and Evan danced to the same song from Sarah's wedding 20 years ago. Any regrets? Evan asked, their traditional question. One. Still wishing we'd recorded Patricia Hale's face. No, I wish I could tell 29-year-old Claire that everything would be okay. More than okay. What would you tell her? That the man pretending to be her boyfriend would become her husband? That she'd run a multi-billion-dollar company? That she'd have children who know their worth from birth? That being left by Jason was the best thing that ever happened to her? Would she believe you? No, but she'd hope. Hope's enough. Hope's everything. As they danced, Claire saw him, Jason, standing outside the French doors, watching the reception he wasn't invited to. Be right back, she told Evan. She found Jason on the terrace, looking out at the gardens. Security will remove you if I ask, she said. I know, I'm sorry. I needed to see. See what? What I threw away. You can't throw away what you never had. I had you. No, you had a version of me that I created to make you comfortable. The real me, this me, you never wanted to meet. I was a fool. You were 28 and thought success meant something different than it does. What does it mean? Claire looked through the doors at her family. Evan dancing with Sophie, James and Marcus laughing with Sarah's twins. Success is being known, truly known, and loved anyway. It's someone bringing you coffee without being asked. It's children who respect themselves and others. It's work that matters and love that multiplies. I had that chance with you. No, Jason. You had the chance to learn what you wanted. I wasn't meant to be your happy ending. I was meant to be your lesson. And Evan? Evan was meant to be mine. My lesson that real love expands rather than contracts. I should go. Yes, you should. Claire, for what it's worth, you look happy. Really, truly happy. I am. Good. That's good. He walked away, and Claire knew she'd never see him again. There was nothing left to say, no closure needed beyond what time had already provided. She returned to the reception, to Evan's arms, to their song still playing. Everything okay? He asked. Everything's perfect. He's gone? That implies he was ever really here. He's a ghost, Evan. Has been for 20 years. And me? You're my reality, my choice, my everyday. For 20 more years? For whatever we get. They danced until the music stopped, until their children dragged them into a group dance, until Sarah's twins started a conga line that even the dignified Evan joined. Later, in their hotel room, Claire found a letter on her pillow. My darling Claire, 20 years ago, I crashed a wedding to offer you a job. I got so much more. A partner who challenges me daily, a love that grows rather than fades, children who carry our best qualities forward, a life I didn't know to dream of. You think I saved you that night. The truth is, you saved me, from a life of transactions instead of connections, from success without significance, from being another rich man who died alone. Thank you for seeing me too, for choosing me when you had every reason not to trust again, for building this life brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice. Here's to 20 more years of morning coffee, bad jokes, teenage drama, and dancing at weddings where we remember our beginning. All my love, the man who got to be your real boyfriend. Claire cried, reading it, then found Evan on the balcony. You can't keep making me cry at hotels. It's tradition now. I love you. I love you too. No, I mean I love you more now than 20 years ago. That's impossible. 20 years ago was pretend. 20 years ago was potential. Now it's proven. They stood there, looking at the same gardens where 20 years earlier, Evan had told her he'd been watching her for over a year, waiting for his chance. Worth the wait? She asked. Worth everything. Even dealing with Jason's ghost. Especially that. Every time I see him, I'm reminded what I have that he lost. Me. You. Us. This. Everything that matters. A knock interrupted them, Sophie and James with champagne. We wanted to toast you guys privately, Sophie said. To parents who showed us what love looks like, James said. To kids who made that love multiply, Evan responded. To Sarah who started it all, Claire added. To second chances, Sophie said. To recognition, James added. To choosing, Evan said, looking at Claire. To becoming, Claire finished. They drank as fireworks, Sarah's surprise, lit up the sky. Look, Sophie pointed. It's like the universe is celebrating. The universe should, Evan said. It got this one right. 25 years passed. Claire stepped down as CEO of Mercer Enterprises at 60, passing the torch to Sophie, who'd earned her MBA and worked her way up from entry level. James had started his own sustainable technology company, using everything he'd learned from watching his parents build an empire on ethics. At Claire's retirement party, hundreds gathered, former employees whose lives she'd changed, competitors who'd become friends. the young women she'd mentored who now ran their own companies. Madison, now 55, and a successful marketing executive, approached. 30 years ago, I took everything from you. 30 years ago, you took Jason. That wasn't everything. It wasn't even something. How do you not hate me? Hate requires energy. I prefer to invest elsewhere. In what? Growth, love, legacy. Things that multiply rather than diminish. Jason had died 5 years earlier. Heart attack at 58. Alone in his office. The obituary had been small, listing few accomplishments beyond business transactions. Claire had attended the funeral. Not many others had. He loved you until the end, Jennifer had said, his biggest regret. Love and regret aren't the same thing. No, but sometimes they're cousins. Now, at her retirement party, Claire gave her final speech as CEO. 40 years ago, I was a junior operations analyst who thought success meant making someone else comfortable with my competence. I shrunk myself to fit spaces too small for my ambitions. Then I lost everything, job, fiancé, self-worth, and in that loss found freedom. She looked at Evan, still CFO, still her biggest supporter. A wise man once told me to act like I belonged, but belonging isn't an act. It's a choice. Choose to belong to yourself first. Everything else follows. The applause was thunderous. Later, at home, surrounded by grandchildren, Sophie's twins, James's adopted daughter, Claire and Evan sat on their terrace, Manhattan sparkling below. No regrets? Evan asked, their eternal question. None. Not even one. What would I regret? Every mistake led here. Here's good. Here's perfect. Sophie's daughter, 5-year-old Eleanor, climbed into Claire's lap. Grandma, tell the story. Which story? The wedding story, where Grandpa saved you. Grandpa didn't save me. He didn't? No. He saw me. There's a difference. What's the difference? Claire looked at Evan, 75 and still handsome, still looking at her like she hung the moon. Saving implies I was broken. Seeing implies I was whole, but hidden. Grandpa just had really good eyes. I want someone with good eyes. You will. But first, make sure you see yourself. How? By knowing your worth before anyone else tells you what it is. Eleanor considered this with 5-year-old seriousness. Okay? As the sun set on their life together, Claire thought about that scared 29-year-old at Sarah's wedding, how she'd stood alone, convinced she was nothing. Now she sat surrounded by family, legacy, love that had multiplied exponentially. All because a stranger had said 6 words. Act like you're with me. The greatest performance of her life, the one that became truth. Evan reached for her hand, wedding ring catching the light. What are you thinking about? How grateful I am that Jason cheated. Evan laughed. That's dark. That's honest. If he hadn't, I'd be living his life instead of mine. And what a life it's been. The best life, the chosen life, the expanded life. Worth a fake boyfriend? Worth everything. As their family chatted around them, as the city hummed below, as 40 years of built love settled into their bones, Claire knew the truth. Sometimes the worst thing that happens is actually the best thing in disguise. Jason leaving had seemed like death. It had actually been birth. The birth of Claire Mercer, the woman who wasn't wanted by one man, but was treasured by another. The woman who learned the difference between being needed and being valued. The woman who chose herself first and everything else followed. I love you, she told Evan. I love you too. No, I mean I love you for seeing me before I saw myself. I love you for becoming who you were always meant to be. Even if it took Jason's betrayal to get there. Especially then, every story needs conflict to appreciate resolution. We're the resolution. We're the whole story, beginning, middle, and happy ending. It's not ending yet. No, but when it does, it'll be happy. They sat until stars appeared, until grandchildren fell asleep in their laps, until Sophie and James carried the little ones to bed. 40 years, Claire marveled. 40 years since Sarah's wedding. The wedding that changed everything. The wedding where you learned your worth. The wedding where you showed it to me. The wedding where we began. Best beginning ever. Best everything ever. And it was. If you've made it to the end of this story, remember, your worth doesn't diminish because someone couldn't see it. Sometimes being left alone is just life's way of making room for someone who will never let you stand alone again. Have you ever had someone stand up for you when you needed it most? Share your story in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Ring the notification bell for more stories about unexpected love, sweet vindication, and finding your worth. Remember, the right person won't just see your value, they'll make sure everyone else sees it too. Until next time, never forget that sometimes the best relationships start with just pretend and end with forever real.